Alright, what's up guys? Started here this morning doing a heap of stuff, and then I figured I should probably actually be making content because this is something I really want to capture the content of. But we're back here, the Mighty VS. We've got a young Josh here, out here giving us a hand today. Working off some debt.
Sorry guys, no.
Nah, so we're going to peel all of the classic B-Series Falcon stuff, all of the coating for the shifter and for the shifter plate and stuff, and the surround was all starting to bubble and peel off. So we're just going to strip all that back and probably just mask that up and paint it, which is like the silver didn't match the interior of the Commodore anyway, so it'll look a lot better once it's painted anyway. So this is the base plate, it's all taken off as well. Rex is in here. We're sorting out, trying to make a bit of a drop box for the shifter so that it can sit somewhere quite nice. I've cut out the shifter surround. It's going to sit probably a bit far back in the surround like that, so I might have to trim further back in the surround. And then similar to what we did with the GQ Patrol, I'll get like a bit of a vinyl boot made up that sort of covers it all up and makes it look quite nice and a little bit factory. Try and get it sort of factory as possible looking. So we cut that out. Also this morning mounted up the intercooler and got the new rad out. One thing I hadn't realised is that the stock rad for this thing was in the boot the whole time, so I didn't even have to buy a new rad, but I did buy a new rad. So I should also point out as well guys, since the last episode, it's actually been quite a while since we touched this car. Obviously won't be for you guys because I haven't even released the last one yet as I'm filming this, but it's been a little while. So yeah, I didn't even realize that the stock rad was in the boot, so I didn't even have to buy a new one. Anyway, it just means that we've got a spare. But I chucked the new rad in. We mounted up the front mount and the intercooler. You can see it there, so that's where it's going to mount. It's looking pretty good, I'm pretty happy with that. I think I'm about trying to mark and hole saw a few holes in this just to get a bit more airflow to the top, because that's pretty much all the airflow there is to the cooler, and once there is a number plate on there, it's going to be fairly restricted. So cooler mount's pretty good, and there's plenty of room between the cooler and the AC condenser that I can fit a pretty decent transcooler, and that's going to pretty much complete the front end. As far as the actual radiator being in here, probably just going to have to bite the bullet and buy like a 16-inch SPAL fan or something. It's about the only thing I can think of that's going to be low profile enough to fit and obviously still do the job that it's meant to do. So with this radiator layout, we've got our thermostat housing here. I'm pretty sure there's an E-Series one which bolts up that faces forwards. I believe I've seen that before. So that's what I'll get, which will run to the top hose. And then the bottom hose will be a bit of a looped around, but that's alright, and just make a pretty long alley sort of hose. So that should all be fine. So that's about where we're up to. We're getting ready and G'd up to weld the gate to the housing, and I've just gone through the same things that happened last time I went to do this. So, you know, it's a split housing. It's gonna be really hard to get the gate on there, and it's one of those things where it's a lot of work to pretty much commit to using this turbo, I suppose. You know, we went through it. This turbo's a little bit smaller than a 35. It's got a really small housing. It's a 0.8 T3. We've got a stock XR6 turbo, and it's got crap on my face. I've got shit on my face, I know. Anyway, it's got a precision turbo on it, which is pretty much what we worked out as a stock for stock replacement. So stock BA turbos are a Garrett 3582 with a T3 106 rear, and even still they're very, very responsive, and they do, even those turbos choke them up. So I'm at a point where I'm like, do I just buy a better turbo for this thing? You know, if I'm going to commit to welding the gate on the housing, if I'm going to commit to doing all that, should I not just spend, you know, a little bit of money and get another turbo? We are Pulsar Turbo dealers here, so I can get Pulsar turbos for a really, really good price, and I'm just at a point where should I just spend that bit of money and just buy a decent turbo for this thing that's going to be a lot better, even though we're going to be held up by valve springs and whatnot and injectors in this thing. At least then when I do sell the car, because that is the idea, someone's got a hot side that they actually go a bit further with. You know, if someone who bought the car wants to spend the money doing the valve springs and doing the injectors, the turbo's there for them to make more power with it. So that's what I'm looking at. It's probably worth doing, not even for the fact that I might get a bit more money for it at the end of the day, more so just for the fact that it will make it a better car. So I don't know, it's one of those things, that turbo, I don't know when I'm ever going to use it. It's been sitting around for ages, and it was a really perfect use for this project, but as much as I reckon the sizing would be okay for what we want to do, still going to choke it up, and it's still going to be a limitation for the whole setup for if any time anybody ever wanted to do anything with it, where if I just spend a little bit of money, bought a better pulsar turbo. It'll be a happier thing. That's where I'm at. So anyway, regardless, basically it's a pause on the hot side of things. It's a pause on doing the fabrication side of things for now, until I make up my freaking mind on what the hell I want to do. So we're just going to keep going on with these other little jobs. We've got our tail shaft back. Our boys at Farrow's Shafting there at Nambour have modified our alloy tail shaft. For a long time, it's been one of those things where it's been really hard to find people to do aluminium shafts like this. I don't actually know enough about shafting to understand why. I think it's something to do with getting them in balance or something like that. I'm not too sure. But regardless, he shortened up the Ford alloy tail shaft for us. I haven't actually test fitted it yet. I'm hoping it is the right length. So we'll find out fairly soon, because that's another thing that can go in. So that's another piece to the puzzle that we've got here. So that's nice.
Simple fucking Josh.
Simple Josh.
Simple Josh. I was just saying, it'd be best to keep it simple, but shouldn't be too hard for Josh.
Oh, I'll leave him alone.
Oh,
Yeah, you're just jealous.
I'm just joshing you, mate.
Just upset because I was going to gap that V80 thing.
Woohoo! So Rex has finished the shifter drop box, which is bloody grouse. Looks great. As you can see, the shifter's all naked there because we've still got to paint it up, but we'll do that. I had a look on the internet for some EA thermostat housings that face forward, and I didn't want to pay what everyone on the internet wanted me to buy them for. So I just went down to the EA and stole this one. So now we have one. Isn't that handy having junk cars around all everywhere? So I'm just cleaning that up at the moment. Cleaned it up on the wire wheel. I've just cleaned up that surface, and I'll just get the wire brush on the drill and try and clean it inside a bit. But that'll get us our forward-facing thermostat housing, which will just make that top hose a lot easier and nicer. Yeah, so that'll be perfect. Bottom one will be a bit more screwing around, but that's fine. I've ordered some of those fan mounts that you can buy so that you can mount your fan straight to the radiator. I'm going to use them to mount the transcooler directly to the aircon condenser, and I'm going to mount it sort of up as high as I can because those two slots in the grill there are really good air intake, but they sit just above where this finishes, so I figure if I offset that, mount it up as high as I can so it's up here, it should get heaps of flow through there, which would be awesome, not to mention the other flow that just goes through. That should be all sweet. And yeah, I have decided I'm going to replace the turbo. It's going to make the car so much better. It's worth doing. I'm just going to put, I'm thinking a Gen 2 3582 with a 0.84 T3. So obviously stock XR6 turbos are a T3 106, and they're pretty good, but they're only a Gen 1. So the Gen 2 exhaust wheels are far more efficient, so I still reckon, you know, we can get away with a 0.8 rear housing and it should be nice and responsive, but it's not going to choke it for if someone eventually wanted to put valve springs and injectors or whatever into this motor. There's enough turbo there to do it, so I figure it's pretty good size, pretty good compromise as far as still achieving what I wanted to achieve as far as where the power band to be in this car. For the way it's going to be geared and the way it's going to be set up, but also having enough turbo that it's not going to choke it if someone eventually did want to make a bit more power. That's what we're going to do. So that might put us behind because it might take me a little while before I can afford to get another turbo, but I really do think it's worth doing. But until then, we'll keep ticking along with what we've got to do here. So they're on the way, they should be here. I'll order a fan fairly soon, and that way it gets that mounted to the condenser, and I'm just going to mount the fan the same way to the radiator with one of those kits, just a 16-inch spout straight to the rad. Again, expensive, but it'll just work and it'll do its job. So Rex nearly got that shifter sorted, so we're getting along there. We're getting along, it's nice. Nice to make some progress on the car, finally. It's been sitting for a while. Oh, man. Muchos better. This looks serious.
Plastic up. Fuck out of here, boy!
Are you tired of looking like an idiot, always getting it wrong, wearing the same old boring shirts? You need our latest boostgumps merch, designed by the best in the business. Get yours today. Unleash the super mechanic within. Alright, got her apart, ready for some paint. Oh, all comes apart. Rex is sorting out the shifter that we broke pulling it out of the Falcon. So, sort that out and might just give this a bit of a quick scuff back with some sandpaper and a cleanup and hit it with some black and hopefully it stays on. Started putting this door card back together. I even went through the trouble of actually making sure the plastic was back on it, but I realized that this thing doesn't have an ignition barrel and we're gonna need one. So we found these. These are for the VR that we got all the front end off. There's actually 2 keys that actually work. So, and that VR has the ignition barrel in it. So we're gonna rob the door locks out of the VR as well as the ignition barrel, so that this thing has ignition barrel and door locks that match, and we have 2 keys for them. What more can you ask for? That's pretty good, honestly. So yeah, I've got the door half together and then we realized we're gonna do that, so we're gonna leave that till tomorrow. But that's gonna be cool. So the actual like plate for the shifter and the actual shifter handle came out pretty awesome. So I painted them with this here, this trim and bumper stuff. It's the same stuff we used to paint the trims and bumpers on the white 31 when we painted that. So good for painting plastic, obviously, and they've come up pretty good. So that should be awesome. Rex fixed the shifter. It's actually bolted through like a lot of people do on the box end. And yeah, that's the shifter box in there. Look at that, how good. How bloody good. So that's that sorted. So it's been a nice little day of progress on this thing. Little day, hey guys?
Yeah,
hey?
Yeah, it's good to get some of those annoying sort of tedious jobs out of the way.
Yeah, yep.
Banter.
Fix the shifter too, which was good.
It'll change gears now. Hopefully.
Yeah, BTR will be like
BTR things.
4 neutrals, 4 neutrals.
Oi, don't do the BTR like that. Yeah, it's a good filling echo. Oh, how good did that come out, eh? Left it overnight, proper dry up, but God, that looks great. Give you a closer look at this drop box as well. So still retains the foam seal, which actually came from the bottom of the Falcon. So that's all sealed. And once this box is actually like Sikaflex siliconed in, and we were talking about nutserting it, but I really don't think it's one of those things that's ever going to really have to come out. Like it'd be very rare that you'd have to actually take this box out. So thinking about just Sikaflexing and then just tech screwing it in and clean up the carpet around it. And we were looking at it yesterday, we might just have to pull the box out, might just have to bite the bullet and pull the box to actually get the hole in the firewall for the shifter, which isn't a big deal. At this point, it's pretty easy to pull the box. There's no tail shaft or anything in it yet, so it's easy enough to do, but we were having a look. There's not really any nice place that we can get a hole for our shifter cable to go through. But anyway, we'll deal with that when we get it up. Alright, so that's what it looks like sort of in there. It's not in there properly, something's stopping it, but I'm getting the shits with it, so. Should look and work the goods. I've got a fair bit of trimming up to do around this center console, but it'll all go back in, which is, it was important to me to make sure this all went back in, because I want it to look nice and factory, you know, like, as good as the engine bay does, like the Barra was meant to be in here. I'm gonna have to give that another bit of a coat, because getting that center console in and out is an absolute pain in the ass. So next time I'll do it. I'll take the shifter back off to actually get the center console in and out next time. So we've got the driver's door handle out, and good news, it's just that retaining clip on the back of the lock barrel, and it looks like we should be able to just swap the barrel and the lock, which is awesome. So get the other door handle out of VR, swap the lock barrels over, and we should be good to go with a Commodore that works, and we'll have 2 keys for it. How freaking awesome is that? Little things like that just excite me. Like I'm pretty sure the wagon that this motor came out of was the last car that I remember owning that had 2 keys, and even then it was the first car that I've owned in years that had more than 1 key for, so it's cool. I like it. Hopefully I can get the central locking to work on the key. It'd be cool if this thing just had like working central locking and everything. Barra converter BS, that'd be sick. I hope I can. I'm gonna have to look into what modules I need to get for the receiver for the key. Well, that was quick.
Yeah, when you know how to get them out, they're actually very easy.
Oh yep, same dealios, B-U-T. Except for that one's got, I'm pretty sure that spring's a bit bung. No, that's alright. So there you go, the driver's door, all back together, which I had actually, honestly, not even seen because it came to us all pulled apart. So it is nice to know that it's all there. And doesn't look too bad, with a bit of a clean up, just like the rest of the interior. Should come up not too bad for the vintage of the car. A little bit of peeling and stuff, but I guess it's expected, particularly considering that this thing didn't have a window in it. It's a little bit weathered, but overall it's not too bad. It'll clean up quite nice for a car this old. So stoked with that. Anyway, it's Sunday, so I'm going to go spend some time with the family. Rex reckons he's going to go ahead and pull the gearbox and try and get the shifter cable sorted and stuff while I'm gone, so I'll drop back in this afternoon to try and do a bit more on it, but I'll leave Rex to do a few things that he wants to do if he feels like it. Alright, so I've returned. Gearbox is out. Rex has got this pretty much sorted, just about fingered. Looking pretty good. He put the hole just in front of the shifter there on the floor. And we just finished siliconing up the drop box, so it's all siliconed in there now. B-U-T. And you can see here I cut this part out of the center console, so it'll just straight up there. I don't have to worry about getting it over the top of the shifter anymore, because I didn't need the front of that for anything. Alright, that's what it looks like from underneath.
I'll see where we get the box.
Drop box.
Probably could have made it a little bit lower, but
nah, it looks to sit alright in the car.
I think there's about 15, 20 mil. I was aiming for 10, but it's hard with the shape of the tunnel to sort of predict and know where what's going to do. So
I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah, that's where the shifter came through. That's what I was talking about the other day, is actually where we clearanced it for the starter. There's just no room on this side to bring it through the firewall, so that was the best option.
Yep. It's
not real nice because it's so close to the shifter. It's fairly harsh on that bend, but this rubber's big enough that it seals it. It'll be okay.
Shibby. Alright, woohoo! Tail shaft is in. Not looking too bad. But with the tail shaft, I'm also installing this. This is what our solution is for a speed signals for the Barra PCM, which is required to run everything. It has to have a speed input. So usually the BABFs take their speed signal input from the ABS sensors, which obviously, given that this is a ganger old VS, I don't have any of. So you need to come up with another solution to give it a speed input, and this is bought from Shift Kits Australia, and this is the solution. So this actually goes on the back of the diff flange. So it is a trigger wheel, as you can see. It goes on the back of the flange like that. I'll show you in a minute once I've installed it. And then what we have is just a good old cherry sensor. You know, super simple and easy. And we just have to basically create a mount to mount the cherry sensor, which shouldn't be too difficult. That'll probably be in the next episode. I don't think I'll have time to do it today. It's starting to get pretty late, but I'll get this on the diff snout as I install the tail shaft, because that's the smart thing to do. And then we'll work on actually how to make a mount to actually mount the cherry sensor. I'm thinking it should be able to make something off this brace, bit of angle or something. Yeah, probably help point the camera the right way. Bit of angle or something that comes off that holds the cherry sensor, and does pretty well. Sure, we can do something, weld a little tab to that or something, and make a bolt-on mount. We'll figure something out. That's what we do, so we'll sort it. But apart from that, we're sort of going all right. Gearbox is back in. Rex been sorting out the bell housing bolts. We've actually got the converter bolts in this time, because it should be the last time the gearbox has to go in. So all exciting stuff. So before we actually bolt the box right up for its final time, we've got to sort out the trans lines, just because of where they are against the firewall, or against the trans tunnel I should say. They're going to be an absolute pain to get to after it's actually mounted up. So what we're doing here, we just got the lines out of the Falcon, which are bolted up to the box. Rex has managed to work them in. As you can see, they come over the
There's a bit of a
mount
challenge.
there.
I had to take the oil filter off. And
yeah, I do. I've actually tried to fit them in once already, and I gave up. So at that point, I was like, oh, I'll just cut them real short. But they run all the way to the front hard lines, which is awesome. So I should be able to tie them up some way, somehow. Did you take the oil filter off?
Yeah, I had to take the oil filter off to get the lines.
Gotcha. No wuckers. So what we're going to do is pretty much cut these back to about here. And we've got a little flaring tool for doing fuel lines and stuff, which will just put a little flare on them. And then we'll just soft line with double clamps up to the radiator. So as I said, guys, out of the trans, into the rad tank, up, out of the rad tank, around the front, into our air cooler, which will be here on front of the condenser. And then out of the air cooler back to the line, which goes back to the trans, and that's got to be how the cooler setup works for the BTR, which should be enough to keep it cool in this thing. I don't plan on doing big amounts of work. Shouldn't be towing and stuff. It shouldn't get any hotter in this than it did in the Falcon, for all intents and purposes, except for when we're doing mad foot-ons, but should be cool enough for that. Especially with that air cooler and a 6-inch spout drawing air through all that, that should be working mint. To be honest, this car thus far has been a dream to build at this point. Everything's been coming up Millhouse. Everything bolts up real nice. Everything fits really well so far. everything's good. Alright, so that's what the wheel looks like. Installed, little trigger wheel, perfect for a little vehicle speed sensor. So since we started building this car, I've actually heard whispers that PCMs have actually released patches and updates that you can actually remove the speed input signal from the BABF, which you used to not be able to do, which used to be the reason why everyone went for the FG PCM for conversion, so that you didn't need it. But apparently that's a thing, but regardless, I'd already bought this and I'm already going to make this work. So the other thing is, obviously, the actual correct tail housing on the BTR with a trigger wheel and a speed input, or speed output signal I should say, on the tail housing would be a much better solution to this. But given the fact that we didn't touch the BTR, we didn't pull it apart or anything, I'd have to go fishing for a tail housing that would have one on it. At that time, when we built this, I would have had to, or when we put it in the car. So for a quick and easy solution that's going to work, this is definitely a pretty cool way to go. When I make the mount for my sensor, I just plan on putting it up high, probably on this side, because the exhaust is going to go over the top of the diff on that side. So putting it on that side, I feel like it's a bad idea. So probably come off this, weld something under that so that I can bolt the sensor and have it come sort of somewhere up here where it's going to be protected. It's not going to hit the floor, but it's not going to hit anything else, you know what I mean? So pretty good little thing. The only thing that you might be a little bit worried about is things actually hitting it from the front. But yeah, just mindful, obviously. It's going to hit the sway bar as well, so. But yeah, should work alright. Should work quite well. But we'll worry about the mount for that another day. Tail shaft is in and looking good. Thank you to our boys at Barrage shafting there.
God damn.
What have you done?
That probably would be better on the other side of those lines.
Oopsie whoopsie doopsie.
It's not a big deal.
So the exhaust will come down between the motor and the steering shaft. It'll come down along here. This is where the exhaust will run. Probably along the floor here, where there's this nice little cutout from the old exhaust. And then around about here, or I'm pretty sure it did before as well, it'll probably come down underneath the tail shaft and then poke out this side and go out over the diff and back out here where it should be. And that's the plan for the exhaust. It shouldn't be too difficult. It's only going to be 3-inch because of our lack of room, but 3 inches is still plenty enough to flow the power that we want to make. So the other things we have noticed while it's up on the hoist at this point as well is we're missing our little sender from the fuel tank. We'll have to sort that out. Hopefully get another one. The old spare wheel well is pretty sad, but good news is that it's the only bit of rust that we can find in the car. So that's the good news. Bad news is that it is definitely there from water sitting in it. So we'll have to patch that up and plate that up and fix that, cut all that rust out. But yeah, apart from that, the rest of the underbody looks pretty good. So fix that up. I'm not sure if you meant to paint this. It's obviously just a raw steel. Not sure if you meant to paint it or not. I probably should have read the instructions. But we've still got to do the diff gears at some point. I do still plan on doing diff gears. This stock is a 308 diff, which is quite tall. It's a very tall diff for what this is. I'm pretty sure the wagon that the Barra came out of was a 345. So to go to a 308's very, very tall. Not obviously what I'm trying to achieve with the car as far as being geared right and having that converter and everything else to make it nice and quick. So the plan is to go to 3.7s or maybe even 3.9s and
Spicy.
yeah, spicy gears, spicy gearing, which should still make it okay to cruise in for 4th gear. Lucky with the BTR, we've got 4 speed, but having those diff gears plus that converter and the turbo setup I want to have should make this thing real quick. So yeah, so we've got to do the diff gears is what I'm trying to get at some point. When I can buy them. So at that point, if I've noticed that wheel's gone a bit gross and a bit rusty, well then I'll pull it off and paint it then. But if I want to pull it off, I'm not sure if they've been zinc plated or what the go is, or whether they're just raw. I should probably look into it. Again, I probably should have read the instructions. But anyway, I'll worry about it then if it's that bad. So that's pretty much going to be this episode of the VS. It's been a nice little episode. As I said at the start, probably doesn't seem like it for you guys, but this has actually been the first time we've worked on this car in quite a number of weeks now. So nice to get a bit of progress happening. We're going to work on getting the turbo we want. We're going to prioritise getting that because that way we can continue on with our fabrication, which is going to be the longest thing we have to do to get this thing sorted. But you know, once we get that turbo here and we fabricate our intake, exhaust, wastegate, and once now the shifter's mounted and connected, we actually have a shifter now. The last thing I have to do is mount the go pedal, which will be in the next episode. Then we can get the wiring sorted. And then apart from the fan and the diff gears and a few other little things that I want to do, we're getting dangerously close to this thing being okay. Still got to do the fuel system, so that'll be in another episode. So there's still a bit to do, but we are making good progress, and it is being a really nice car to build so far. Touch wood. What do you reckon, Rex? Easy for me to say, says the guy who's been out all day while you pulled the gearbox out and put it back in.
I was going to say, you didn't have to take the gearbox out.
Nah, but really this thing, it has been quite cool how well everything fits and how
It
nice
hasn't been
goes.
too bad for considering it's a pretty weird conversion. It has gone all right, except for the fact that it's just typical Barra trash.
As far as engine conversions go, it's pretty nice to build. Look at that, even got an intercooler now. So I've just got to make the bottom brackets, but easy. Just one bit of strap, nutsert, boom boom, easy done. And our little mounts to mount the transcooler to the condenser and stuff are on the way, so hopefully that'll be as soon we can get that in there. But anyway, thank you for watching as always. Hope you're enjoying the VS build. We're endeavouring to have it completed sometime in the very near future now. Not like I said the last time or the time before that, 4 months ago. This time I'm being serious somehow. Anyway, thanks for watching as always. Smash like, smash subscribe, tune in for the next one. We'll see you then. Peace out, see you, bye.